I'm Miwa Messer. I'm the producer and host of Poured Over. And, we're starting the new year in a different way this year. I mean, occasionally we do a thing where we have an author in a conversation. I mean, you guys, if you listen to the show regularly, you kind of know what we do. But I wanted to kick off this new year in a different kind of way with a couple of folks that I absolutely adore. They're both at the New York Times Book Review. MJ Franklin and Joumana Khatib are two of the smartest editors working today. And yeah, I'm going to brag about them because I really am fond of what they do. And if you're not reading their bylines, you should. Okay, straight up. I don't care where you are. You don't have to be in New York to do this. But anyway, why don't you guys just say hi and jump in so people can hear you before we...
Hi, everybody. I'm Joumana.
Hello, you're far too kind and Happy New Year.
Right? Happy New Year. 2026. Let's see what you bring. One of the things we really wanted to do, though, and this all sort of started at, lunch one day, and I don't even remember how long ago it was, but, it's one of those lunch conversations that suddenly got a lot bigger and a lot more complicated because we all kind of love this book thing. We really, really love this book thing. But there are times, too, where it's really easy when you're in the thick of it, as you are when you're a reviewer or a bookseller, to have a really specific view of things. But you don't end up doing this thing unless you don't. I mean, you have to love books, right? You have to love books and writers and words and ideas and all of these things to want to do what we do on a regular basis. So we were like, how do we help people kickstart a new year of reading? And maybe that means you start reading all of the things you've meant to read, or maybe you finally tackle your TBR. And I do love a TBR. I'm actually looking at a crazy stack in the studio here, and there's plenty behind me. I mean, and these are just the books we've done on the show in the last, yeah. So, I mean,
we've got shelves like those in our office. I know that feeling very well.
Right? Parameters. Mm-hmm. But one of the things we wanted to talk about is sort of the books that got us going, right? Like as young people. And I will totally admit that I went back to Franny and Zooey. I thought I hadn't read it, MJ, when you were like, well, Franny and Zooey, this is what I want to talk about. Zoe, excuse me. And I was like, I don't think I've read that. Oh, no. Deep in it, I was like, yeah, I just, sometimes you forget. And it's not a mark on the book. It's just, life happens and stuff happens and all of this other stuff. But do you want to open with Salinger? Because I was like, okay, I haven't looked at this book in forever.
Well, is it for me, Salinger isn't an author who got me going as a reader. He's an author who I have found myself revisiting a bunch unexpectedly. He's an author that I've gone through my own emotional journey with. He's an author that I'm glad I didn't dive in fully into until I was an adult. So do we want to start there, or do you want to start with like...
I think we can totally start there because honestly, I mean, our memories of books, right? Like, we also have Jean Rhys to start with as well, because I mean, that was one where I was like, oh, right.
My girl.
Good Morning Midnight, man. Like, I can see the thread of my adolescent reading of Jean Rhys like running straight through my adult career in a way. But yeah,
especially, I mean, reading Good Morning Midnight now that I don't drink anymore is
there are some choices our gal makes where you're like,
maybe you don't want to end up in a Parisian sewer, but face down, but
or you could fall off a bar stool and die of a broken hip. I mean, these things happen. It's Bukowski or it's Rhys. But I do actually want to start with both of them. One, because they are very fresh rereads for me, but also I don't know, do we think of them as canon? Do we think of them as, I mean, they're definitely modern classics, sure. But I think of them both as writers that come in and out of fashion.
I don't. Now that I firmly have my like English literature degree in paw, no one can take it away from me. I don't use the C word anymore. I don't know what canon is. I don't know who's been. I've stopped thinking about that. I am totally willing to fight about it, but as time goes on, I find that it is less and less useful. And I'm not even sure that there is a sort of like agreed upon, even American canon, like forget like Anglophone canon. I am willing to be talked out of this position, but I'm just starting hot.
I love this. Number one, it's like that like Arthur meme, the DW saying like this Stein can't stop me because I can't read.
I can't read.
The canon can't stop me because I refuse to acknowledge it. I like the idea of a canon. I have many gripes with what we consider to be canon, but I like the idea of social canons, literary canons, personal canons, growing up on the internet, fan fiction term, head canon. Like, I feel like it's, for me, it's something that I think is malleable, but very important. But I want to hear you start, Joumana. I'm curious your thoughts too, Miwa, because you've mentioned canon a lot, and I'm curious why you come back to it.
Miwa, you should start.
So I go back and forth on canon. Part of me loathes it. Part of me loathes the idea that we must have, the 100 books you read before you die kind of thing. And I say this as a bookseller. I think there's so much more room to roam, right? But what I do find is that context is helpful. So, I mean, Pagan Baby over here finally read Pride and Prejudice like 2 months ago because I was interviewing Elaine Castillo for her novel Moderation, which is essentially Pride and Prejudice with virtual reality in Vegas. And I was like, oh,
I need to read it. That sounds
great. Yeah, you super do. But at the same time, like, I understand the context and I can recognize enough, even though I hadn't read Pride and Prejudice, it is so much a piece of a larger framework that I was like, yeah, finally. And it turns out I don't think Darcy's a drip. I was a little surprised.
A lot of hot takes on this episode already.
Is 5 minutes at the crap table? Is that why?
No, overall, I was just surprised that I stuck through the whole, and I realized this is not a very long book, right? And I understand that, and I quite enjoyed Curtis Sittenfeld's Eligible years ago, which is her version set in Ohio. And, there was some reality TV stuff in there, like it's Curtis Sittenfeld, right? But this time I was like, yeah, actually, I might be missing something if I don't actually. And then, of course, I go and I get like the 6 novels in one with the introduction by Karen Joy Fowler, because why not? And I might actually read.
That book is a trap. That book is a trap because it's too big to carry around. It took me a long time to read Jane Austen because that's what I had, and I literally just couldn't put it in my bag.
But I might read Mansfield Park because of it. Because now I have it just sitting in front of me, and I'm like, oh, it's not small, but I do. The older I get, the more I appreciate having the context. I wasn't an English major; I was a history major, so I was dealing with longer texts in different kinds of forms. But like, I remember coming to Orwell not as a high school student, but as a college student, reading Burmese Days. And I'm like, where has this dude been all my life? Right. And this is after reading 1984 and Animal Farm, because they're short. You get assigned them in high school. And I got it. And it was, yay. But Burmese Days, I was like, oh, that's why this, right.
I am a very big believer in books and like timing being a huge part of the reading experience.
Yeah.
That a lot of people don't talk about, right? So like we'll never understand why people, unless they're being paid to finish a book, why they like push themselves to get through a book that is just not doing it for them. It's like, put it down and come back to it and maybe it will. Like that actually happened to me with Paul Murray with The Bee Sting, which is a book that I ended up being, like insane. I was like a Jehovah's Witness for this book, and but the first time I tried to read it, I was like, I'm not feeling this, and then I just had a total, conversion, and I think it was all about the mindset I was in and the headspace. I hate that term, forgive me. So I think you're totally right about how the stage of life is a bigger part of timing as well. Like, and to your point about having a good handle on the like reference points, because the first Jean Rhys book I read was Wide Sargasso Sea, and if I hadn't read Jane Eyre, probably would have loved it. Probably wouldn't have gotten as much out of it. You know what I mean?
Totally get it, because I had read Jane Eyre prior to reading Sargasso, and it's kind of like reading James by Percival Everett, right? Like I read it the first time without having reread Huck Finn. And then I reread it a second time having read the Norton critical Huck Finn, because if you're going to do a thing, right? Yeah, I still don't love Huck Finn. I still really super don't love that.
But are you glad to have read it?
In the context of, sure, it's a major American novel, but like, did I have to do it a second time?
Can I jump in and mount my defense of the idea of the canon? I am not going to defend whatever we have in our canon.
Right.
I would do that selectively.
Yeah.
But for me, I like the idea of having a canon because it's basically, to me, a rich library historical document of like literary consciousness and literary and great literature. And yes, there are so many things that have been excluded and that
Hmm.
need to be added to the canon.
Yeah.
But as a reflection of our taste over time, I
Hmm.
think it's really helpful. And I think that the idea of a canon is has baked into it like a ton of strange hypocrisies.
Hmm.
We all know what's kind of in the canon because
Yeah.
we've just heard about it so much, but there's no one place that you go to and say, like, what is the American literary canon? I feel like there's a lot of helpful peer pressure. Some of that is forced. We're forced to read some things in school.
Hmm.
We're told that this is great, but some of it is just word of mouth. I've had friends who have talked to me constantly about Jane Austen, and it felt stodgy, and I never got to it, but I finally did, and like, look how great it is. I think, what did you say uh, when you were talking about Pride and Prejudice or Orwell? You said, where has this dude been all my life? And I wrote that
Right.
down because I think that is the pleasure of going through the canon and you discover something that you love, or you read something and you're like, I hate this. This did not age, but it helps tap you into a time, a milieu.
Right.
I think that's really helpful. And so I would defend the idea of having a
Hmm.
canon. Again, I think things can come on and off the canon, and that's interesting and exciting to me. I love when people challenge the canon.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm gonna get before I get off my stump while I'm here, I just want to say, like, I feel like it's both fashionable to have a canon and fashionable to like rail against it. So
Hmm.
many people are like, why do we even need a canon?
Hmm.
And yet, especially today, like lists are the language of the land and every like
Man, are they
there's
ever, right?
my favorites of the 10 best, or we just did 100 like best books of the 21st century. We don't like the canon, but we love canon making exercises. And
Mm.
I find that interesting. I don't want to get rid of it. Again, challenge the canon, but I like the idea of having a canon.
But I need it to be able to change, right? And for a long time, it was not, it didn't budge, right? For a long
Yep.
time, it really didn't budge. And that's where I get fussy about it, right? Some of these books aren't for everyone, right? Although it turns out I'm finishing up North and South now. I really like this book, and I think Middlemarch broke me. I mean, it was a running joke on the show for a while until I finally read Middlemarch. Also, 2025 has been a year of me getting over the books that I was like, yeah, I should probably read this. And I've had so
Eat your
many people,
broccoli.
so many writers tell me too that they're like, oh, you would love Middlemarch, and I'm like, all right. And I did it prepping for an interview, actually. And it turns out I really liked Dorothea. And then I catch myself texting in the middle of the night to a friend going, I can't believe Casaubon put that codicil in as well. And I'm like, what is happening here? Why am I texting a friend in the middle of the night about like a character from a Victorian novel that I had been making fun of incessantly, actually for decades?
Because that book is amazing. And
Right?
actually, like I just read it for the first time this summer.
Hmm.
And part of the reason, so I'm not a Victorianist at
Right.
all. I mean, it is actually a miracle that I graduated with an English literature degree because I read little British literature as I could get away with, where I was like,
Right.
okay, maybe one romantic class and maybe no Victorian classes,
Hmm.
maybe.
Hmm.
But I had a very dear friend tell me, she's like, Joumana, like I reread Middlemarch and I got it so much more this time.
Yeah.
She was one of those very precocious high schoolers who read it when she was like 16
Hmm.
and she came back to it now, we're 34. And she said, I just had a completely different impression of it. And it was so much richer. And I think you're going to love it. And I loved it. I totally loved it. And like, I actually agree. I could see where my 16-year-old self would have
Hmm.
like snagged on this or where we would differ.
Hmm.
But it is such a good book for this particular moment, but it was one of the best reading experiences I had in 2025.
I mean, my parents were nagging at me to read Jane Austen when I was 11 and like trying to feed the marriage plot to a person who is really super not interested in it. Like, I just for years was rolling my eyes every time they would come near me. They're like, you should read. No, thank you.
Why do you think that was? Like, was it because they wanted you to be quote unquote well read, or they thought you would legitimately like it?
They, both of them quite liked the whole high society, I needed Evelyn Waugh, right? Like I needed something with a little more edge to it. Like I read a lot of Updike when I was young. Like you find your way through stuff, and it's partially because no one is putting it in front of you. No adult is saying, "Hey, read this book." It's kind of like, "What's this?" But
MJ, do you have any books like that from like childhood or high school or anything like that?
That I was pressured to read and finally.
Or
yeah,
even the equivalent of Miwa sort of wending her way through Updike or something like that. I don't know.
I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to think, and nothing is coming to mind that I've. The first book that's coming to mind is The Brothers Karamazov, which I have not read
hmm
still, but
right.
has just been this nagging thing in
hmm
the back of my head of like, you need to read this, pick it up at some point. These like great long novels are do sit in the back of my head and I feel guilty about. I'm trying to think of one that I felt guilty about and I had time to actually read recently. I'm gonna noodle on this, but while I do that, can I tell a Middlemarch story?
Yes,
This is an
please.
entertaining one.
Yeah,
So I
please.
had to read Middlemarch in college
hmm
because as an English major, we had a full year junior seminar,
hmm
and that seminar was required for every single student who graduated with an English degree. He had to take this seminar. You can mix and match other courses, but this was
Okay.
the one anchor. So talk about canon making events. And it was
hmm
because they were like, everyone needs to know these books. And that's where we
Right.
read Shakespeare's sonnets. We read, I'm trying to think of what other things we read. We read Ulysses,
hmm
but one of the books was Middlemarch.
Right.
And I was leading this like little conversation at one point in the seminar, and I was talking about agency,
hmm
and I think Rosamund, am I saying her name correctly? We were talking about how she has a taste for the finer things, and out of nowhere, another student in in my seminar started singing the entirety of No Scrubs by TLC.
Oh,
There are like 12 students in this, and she's dedicated. She's in it. And that is my association now, like
hmm
permanently with Middlemarch. I think of No Scrubs and I think of Middlemarch.
perfect like high-low crossover. If you
that
were due for a Middlemarch adaptation, we've already run through all the Jane Austen adaptations I
mhm.
think I can handle. Like, give me a modern day Middlemarch. I would love to see that.
Can I have some Steinbeck, please? I'd like East of Eden. I think someone was going to make East of Eden recently, and I don't know what happened to it, but like if ever there was a great California novel, I mean, East of Eden is it was ahead of it. Yeah, it's a little pulpy, it's a little melodramatic, but I mean, here I am sort of griping about Middlemarch, and yet East of Eden, oh, absolutely a book that I love. Is it better than Grapes of Wrath? I'm not having that conversation, but it is. I mean, it just captures a moment and a place where you're just like, oh,
One
hi,
of the more
you're a little ahead of your time, right? Like, this is the same dude who wrote The Red Pony and The Black Pearl and some other stuff where I'm like,
That's
what are the ways in which you think he was ahead of his time with East of Eden?
I'm just thinking of the cook, like straight up. If you remember Lee, where he's just like, yeah, hi, and he's doing the whole code switching thing before anyone else
Mm.
was sort of doing that in pop fiction. I mean, if you think about how big Steinbeck was, he was playing with race more than class in that particular instance. But I remember thinking as a teenager, like, what just happened? He's what? Oh, wait, when was this book written? What?
I'm
I mean,
putting
when you're 15, lots of things kind of go, oh, you know.
I would like to take one half step back onto my stump about the canon, which is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Steinbeck is one of those people who are like, oh, like old dead white man who everyone talks about in school. Like
hmm
we don't like, let's get him up out of there.
hmm
And your experience and what you just said, like he was doing this before
Right.
anyone else. And I'm glad I finally read him. I haven't read East of Eden actually, and that's like something that I hope to fix.
hmm
Because I want to have that experience that you just had, not just reading that book, but also
Right.
connecting dots of these big social things that we were dealing with.
I mean, that's half the fun, right? Like, I can be as immersed in a book that's, 167 pages as I can in a book that is 600 pages, just tell me a story. And I mean, I would like my stories to come with very sharp sentences.
Mhm.
I mean, I do like language will knock me out of a story if the language is not, where I need it to be. It will absolutely take me right out. And I'm like, I could go do another thing, or I'm the queen of this book is not for me. And there's a
Mhm.
lot that I don't finish. Um, Mostly because I don't have to. And usually I'm working on 9 other things anyway, so I may as well move on. And I have absolutely no regrets about not finishing a thing. Like that, I lost that early on where I was like, this is not
It
for
is the
me.
way. It just
It's
is the
it is
way.
the only way.
It is the way. Like I respectfully, like you're not in school anymore. You don't have to finish it. It's like you can also have cereal for dinner every night for a week if you want. Like that's what's great about being a fully fledged adult. Sorry, go
Can
ahead,
I ask
MJ.
Joumana a question, which
Hmm.
is we started this, you were saying like you do not acknowledge, you do not use the keyword, you do not acknowledge. Now is your turn. Can you tell me more about this? Can you unpack it?
I mean, I think as an expression of culture, the
Right.
canon is useful to look at, sure.
Hmm.
But like in terms of my I don't interact with it. It's a
Right.
rat like I mean, sorry, this is not my like ghost hunters moment where it's like ghost the canon's not real. It's like is the
Right.
canon in the room with us right now? Yes. Yes. But I just don't feel that I need to think about it. I mean, what can I tell you? I think a lot about like, you know, I feel like I'm just stumping for this project, but we're still coming off of choosing our 10 best books of the year, and one
Right.
thing that I do find that a lot of my colleagues twist and I like twist ourselves in knots over is like
Hmm.
should we pick books that are representative of the year, or like how much do we need the like
Right.
outside world to sort of come in and influence the list,
Hmm.
or the 100 best books of the 21st century. That to me was fascinating because
Hmm.
I can guarantee if we had done that list if we had published it in 2025 and not 2024, it would have been very different.
Yeah, I think that there is so much room for fashion to influence books more so to a certain extent than music and movies. And I don't I mean it's partially I feel like we have a bigger playing field in some ways than I mean yes, there are thousands of songs and there are hundreds of thousands of movies too, but a book is a really deeply accessible, portable thing, right? Like there are libraries, you can buy used books, you can borrow a book from a friend. Like there's so many ways. Yes, of course you can buy books, but like there's so many ways that you can come into contact with a book that you may or may not connect with heart. Like, I used to make sure that my younger brother got things that I knew my parents were not going to pass on to him. I'm like, dude, you need to read this. And some of it he read, and some of it he was like, yeah, not in this lifetime. Thanks so much. None of it was Jane Austen, but I think there's something to be said, right, for being able to sort of carve your own path through what art looks like or what community looks like or what like reading is such a weirdly intimate experience, right?
See, that's
Like,
the upshot of the canon, right? So
right?
like I just reread Dracula for the first time since college, and when I read it in college, it
That
was
book is great.
in a post-colonial studies class, and it was just sort of like, okay, we're going to read it from the feminist angle. We're going to read it from the
Right.
like we're going to read it from the post-colonial angle, and it's just sort of you can do the same with Frankenstein, with
Right.
like so many classics, and like look at them from using any number of theoretical
Mhm.
lenses.
Right.
But and I read it, MJ did too, actually,
Mhm.
to sort of better understand what the hell was going on with the Buffalo Hunter by Stephen
Oh
Graham,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
which is
Hmm.
that great riff on a vampire story that sort of weaves in all sorts of indigenous history, and it's really great.
Hmm.
So that is the one good thing about canon, is that if you are conversant in what literature can do, has done,
Hmm.
then it can make your appreciation of it a lot richer.
And I think for that's a prime example of like the social aspects of the canon,
Hmm.
which is it doesn't have to feel like homework. That was a book that we reread because we
Hmm.
wanted to read this new contemporary novel, and it was like, oh, Dracula is one of the keys to it. If you want to
Hmm.
understand this one, this is something else like the Buffalo Hunter. This is another novel you should go back and it's riffing off on that. I don't think either of us, Joumana, would have said if we had to come down and make a list of our books in the canon, we would say we should add Dracula because
Hmm.
of what that, not because it's bad, but because of like what that exercise means.
Right.
Yet, instead, what we'll do is say, I just read this and I got so much more out of it and it was so exciting and that word of mouth like excitement and fun just keeps that book in the conversation and then it passively becomes canonized. And so to tie this back to this idea of like what energizes you
Hmm.
and like how to approach a new year of reading, I
Hmm.
want to take like the homework and the pressure and
Yeah, yeah.
the like gatekeeping out of the canon.
Hmm.
For me, it's just like what things just keep getting mentioned. And some of that is because of school, but some of it's because like people are excited about some of these books. And I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop there.
Well, I
Okay,
just don't want canon to be a bar to entry. That's all. I don't want canon to feel like a thing. Like I don't want people to say I can't read this because I haven't read that. I mean, I think it's like I go back to Moderation by Elaine Castillo, right? Like, did I need to read Pride and Prejudice? No, my lizard brain knew that it would be better if I did. So I did. But I also read really quickly. I had the original context simply from like being in the world, right? Like it has become one of those books, right? Kind of like the Odyssey, right? But oh yeah, when that Emily Wilson translation came out, did I read it? Oh yes, I did, because I was curious to see how it had evolved from like the 9,000 copies that we, translations we'd seen before. So yeah, it is a curiosity, right? Like I do want to engage with ideas that I may not be entirely comfortable with. I mean, that's the whole point of reading a book, right? It's like, well, what can I partially I like to be smarter on the other end of something, but at the same time, I want the experience of being in this world. Like, I went from Little House on the Prairie and like part of Narnia to, well, shall we say, stops with V.C. Andrews and John Saul and some stuff where it's like, oh, right. Like Stephen King was too scary, so I just read pulp.
Okay, I have a fun little exercise,
Yeah.
which is I think it will be legitimately fun.
Hmm.
Didn't mean for that to sound so threatening. What do we want? What do we want more of in our reading life in 2026? And what do we want less of? I can go first.
Yep,
I
you
can
are
go
definitely
first.
going for it because I know what I want more of. The what I want less of is kind of like I just know it when I see it. But
I know, I know. Okay, so one of the best reading experiences, along with Middlemarch, very different than Middlemarch,
yeah,
was this debut novel by MJ knows what it is because
I
I
do know
put
what
it
it
all on the
is.
line for this book.
right.
I took all my West Wing, Aaron Sorkin,
Okay.
rhetorical skills and really went to bat for this book because I love this book. So this is Trip by Amy Barradale.
Okay.
It is the weirdest, one of the most idiosyncratic novels I've read in a very long time.
Okay.
And to my mind, she like totally lands it, even in the parts where she loses you. And like, I did hear some feedback that some of my esteemed colleagues were like, yeah, she quoted a lot from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I was like, yeah, wasn't that great? And they were like, yeah, I could have had, a little fewer Tibetan dead passages.
Right.
Like, okay, tomato, tomato. So this is the book about a woman who is the mother of a child who's on the autism spectrum,
Hmm.
and she and her ex-husband are really at crossroads about how to raise their child, and they sort of feel like they're out of ideas.
Hmm.
So he goes to a facility for I think teenagers with some kind of emotional irregularities. And then the woman goes to Nepal to cover a Buddhist conference. And like that alone is so funny. It is so funny. It's like she has such a wicked sense of humor. And then the woman ends up slipping on a hairbrush and dying in her hotel room. And then she's like stuck in the bardo, which is the Buddhist limbo. It is hysterical. Like it is, and it's so nuts. And like I found out later that the author, Amy Barradale, did grow up the daughter of a Buddhist. single mother nurse in Texas. I'm like, I was just thrilled because it was like nobody else in the world could write this book. I can't say that for every book I write or I read, you know? Like it has such a unique flavor to it. Like it's going to be a little off-putting at some points. It's going to be it's just it hit almost every emotional register. I would like to feel more strongly about more of the books that I read. That's something I would like more of. And
Okay.
I want weirder books. I want people to feel encouraged to just like freak it.
I'm kind of enjoying this moment we're in where like genre is kind of a thing that people are kind of blowing up. So Asia Gable did The Lightbreakers at the end of last year, and it's a love story. It's also a story about creativity and making art, and there's a little bit of time travel.
Oh boy.
And she sells it. She sells every single, and her first novel, I don't know if you know her first novel, but it was called The Ensemble, and it was about a classical string music quartet and friendship but like to see her go from sort of what you might consider a classic debut sort of storyline to I'm going to blow it all up and make it it's really charming. It's so and it's LA and it's Marfa and it's a little bit of stuff poking at some stuff that's going to look really familiar to everyone when they pick it up. This is the fun of art, right? Like who are we and how do we move through the world? And how can we maybe do it differently?
I want to just add my flag to this keep books weird rally.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books from last year was Angel Down by Daniel Kraus, which is a war story told by it's told in one long 300-page sentence from a soldier who's a failed draft dodger and a con man. He has been able to survive and escape direct battle because he always signs up for like burial duty because that always happens in the back lines. And then he is found out and is put on this team to go help the source of a mysterious shrieking that is like all over the battlefield. And help I put in quotes because it's really like go put this man out of his misery and euthanize this person.
Mm.
But then they get there and it's a fallen angel that they discover. And now all of a sudden you're in this like weird fallen angel World War I battle story told in one 300-page long sentence. It is so weird and so good. It is so good. And I think the word that we used a lot on our team was bravura when we were talking about it. And it's unlike anything I've read before. And that's so exciting to me.
But what I was thinking about though is something like Audition, the Katie Kitamura, right? Where you get that flip in the middle and it's just like, oh hi.
It's like the Mulholland. It's like it is like Mulholland Drive in a book.
Yeah, completely. But I mean, again, like it's great when you can be surprised. And I'm not talking about just like a twist and a turn in a story. Like plot is great, but I also read a lot of things where plot is maybe not necessarily the thing that I am there for. I also don't need to like characters. I need to be invested in them, but I don't necessarily. So Jean Rhys, like, can we just come back to Jean Rhys for a second? Can we come back actually to Franny and Zooey too, where I'm like, oh, right, I forgot about
Bring it
Mama.
home, Miwa. Come on.
Right?
I'm
Like,
ready.
Land the plane.
Well, but all of this stuff, right? Where I'm like, oh, yeah, but man, I love a sentence by Jean Rhys. Oh, do I ever love a sentence by that woman? And, I went through a big phase in my 20s where it's like I was carrying the flag for Jean Rhys. And at that point, it was like the collected stories were available in Sargasso Sea. And that was and maybe you found like a used copy. Because again, writers come in and out of fashion, right? Like I have a really weird relationship with Marguerite Duras and The Lover. Like the sentences are great, but there's a little bit of a colonialism thing happening there where I'm like, what do I do? But the sentences are great, right? Like I will always read for language first.
See, I'm totally with you. And for me, we're like, there are so many. I love reading novels by poets, for example, because their sentences are going to be running. And for me, where language is sort of is indispensable is dialogue. I would
Yeah,
so much
completely.
rather not have dialogue than bad dialogue. Like there's a book that will remain unnamed that one of our colleagues, there's a child, and one of our colleagues described this child's spoken sentences as annoying as Jar Jar Binks. It was like it's exactly what it was. It was like no 4-year-old talks like that.
Okay,
Not
but
one. Now I know because I said at Park Slope.
Okay, but also when playwrights write memoirs and novels, I'm just very specifically thinking of Chiara Allegria Hudes, right? Wins the Pulitzer for Water by the Spoonful and has this amazing memoir about growing up in Philadelphia called My Broken Language. But y'all, she has written this novel, which came out again at the end of last year. So if you're looking to add 196 pages, maybe. And it's a letter from a mother to her daughter, and she has left her daughter. And right there, that's like a radical act that women are not supposed to leave, right? They are just not supposed to leave. And it ends up being kind of a trip.
It's a total trip.
It's a trip, and it flies. But also, when you are with a playwright on the page, the dialogue is always pushing for. It is so good. But even in her, like all of it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, you have been paying attention to stuff where when I was like playing with jacks and chalk, you were like taking notes on the adults, right? No, really, it's to see that kind of swing on the page, right? Same thing with a poet, though. Like a poet writing prose, when they trust in the change in form, is great. It is just, you're just like, I'm sorry, how did you figure out that you could do that with words, right? Like, or writing about creativity or painting or any of this kind of thing where it's like, oh, I just want to stop for a second and be like, I never thought about it that way, or that's the perfect way to describe a thing, or like, how am I experienced? Like, and I've said this before, but like world building has been co-opted a little bit by science fiction and fantasy, right? And I'm like, no, even if you're talking about something in like 1950s Pasadena, right? The opening of the hours is an example I use frequently because that is world building, right? Like Michael Cunningham wrote that late 90s, early aughts, right? Like it's not, he didn't just suddenly go type, there's a lady in her kitchen. Like it's, you got to do the thing.
I've been thinking about this a little bit because of this book that came out at the end of last year, Pterodactyl by Matilda Bernstein Sycamore.
Yep.
And it juggles a bunch of timelines, but it brings you really deep into New York and the 90s during the Club Kid era and how Matilda is able to bring you into that world is so fantastic. And it's so evocative and you just felt there and present. And that's a skill that is not, as you pointed out, Miwa, world building is not just for science fiction or fantasy.
Right.
Like how, even for contemporary novels, how we come into, I say this a lot, like the world of the novel, the voice of the novel, and like those opening graphs, like how it sets the tone. It's so important and it's hard to do.
Well, and then you get something like North Woods by Daniel Mason, right? Where it's like every chapter is a different voice. And either you're in it, and I was in it for the thing, but 400 years in the history of a house. And it means the people change. And, you know, one chapter is a murder mystery, and another chapter is written in a noir voice, and there are a couple of ghost stories, and there are a couple of love stories. It is incredible how well all of this hangs together because you could look at it and go, huh, it's a house in the woods? What? And yet, this book is so screamingly full of life and people and all of the things that make us kind of complicated and messy, which is the stuff that I love. Like The Bee Sting, that was a book where I had convinced myself there was no punctuation anywhere because of one thing that the writer does.
Section, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where
Section,
yeah, it by far, but I had convinced myself until I went back right before I was about to sit down with him. I was like, oh, hi, that would have been a wild mistake to make. But I was so fully in the world of, wait for it, post 2008 Great Recession Ireland. So deeply in it, with these people. And I was like, okay.
So I felt that way about The Sisters by Jonas Hassan Hamiri.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody
Mhm.
on here read it. It just
Mhm.
I
exactly
actually
that.
have not, but it
Oh,
is on my desk. And I know what you're talking about, but yeah,
This
sadly.
is an audio format, so you cannot see the faces we just made.
Uh,
You
if they
gotta.
watch it on YouTube, they will, and that's okay because we're leaving it in. No, I know. I'm sorry, and apologies
no,
again. But
listen,
it is
listen.
on my desk. It is actually on my desk.
Time on Earth is finite. I don't think anybody should ever feel guilty for not having read a book unless you're being paid to read it.
Mm,
That's a problem.
that's a different
However,
thing.
I do think like that, I stumped for the bee sting. I stumped for the sisters. For me, they inspired similar feelings of just like exuberance
Yeah.
and joy and deep love for these characters. And talk about good dialogue. Both of those
Hmm.
have great dialogue.
Yeah.
And and what's amazing to me, so the sisters, let me back up for a second. It also is set in kind of a series of hyper specific microclimates. Like, I don't know
Hmm.
anything about what it's like to be mixed race in Stockholm, like playing basketball, or let alone even anywhere close to 6 feet tall. Let alone, like, I do know what it's like to have a family curse put on me, and that's like a big part of the book. Is that
Okay.
there are these three kind of mysterious, um, alluring sisters who capture the attention of our narrator, and it spins out into this unbelievable, like, globe spanning story, like Tunis, Germany,
Hmm. Hmm.
like upstate New York, like, anyway. And he always feels very in control of it, and even there of course are some real sucker punches of moments, right? I mean, actually he writes very beautifully about the experience of depression in a way that feels new, right? Like,
Right.
writers love talking about getting loaded and having dark thoughts, but this felt new. And
Hmm.
still, the word that I keep coming back to when I'm describing this book is exuberant. Love that one. That was a great reading experience too.
I think reading in general, even when you are like, okay, Darkness Visible, William Styron, one of the first sort of books that changed the conversation about depression. Um, I love feeling all of the things, right? When I'm reading. It just, to me, that's where the investment comes. And again, I don't have to like every character. I don't necessarily need a happy ending. I think happy ending, like the ending of anything needs to be organic, right? And some things are just not going to, because isn't that how we move through the world? Like you need both things, right?
Mhm.
Like, does joy exist when you don't know sorrow? Like, sorry to sound, but I mean, honestly, does joy exist if you don't know what it's like if it's missing, right? And vice versa. Like if you have nothing but sorrow, what does joy feel like to you? I mean, that to me is where like Abdulrazak Gurna, right? Like that guy, when he does stuff on the page, you're just like, hi. Where? And
I dug
again,
your vibe.
yeah, but also didn't start reading him until very, very recently.
The Nobel.
Yeah, basically. But there was stuff, there's one of his novels is written in the second person and it's set in the UK and it's
Oh,
basically the dissolution of a marriage.
yeah. Oh,
And I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would just really like more people to, yeah, he's got some stuff going on. And some of his books are in conversation with each other, and you're just kind of like, okay. Or like I went back recently and did a big Jamaica Kincaid reread, and I was like, oh, hi. Like,
mm.
this is what it feels like to discover a voice that's really subversive, right?
Mhm.
Like,
What inspired you to do that reread?
um, prepping for a project that I'm hoping comes together. I'm sorry to be vague. I'm sorry to be vague, but there are also times where I do want to revisit. I just did a big reread of John Edgar Wideman too, and I don't often get to do the kinds of rereads that I would like to do simply because some of the writers I like have done a lot of work. Um, I use the show kind of as an excuse. Or I'm like, oh, hey, I should go back and see this again. What makes you reread?
I reread for so many different reasons. One of them is just like, uh, sh- little reading tip, literary tip. When I am stuck in a reading rut
Hmm.
and nothing sounds good and I'm just
Yeah.
not getting through anything, I like to go back and reread because I know I like this book. I'm
Hmm.
familiar with this book, and so like I have my own feelings to propel me along when my brain is not
Yeah.
working. And it just gets me doing the activity of reading.
Hmm.
I also reread a lot because there are those books, and you can kind of feel them too when you're reading, that you think like I'm not getting everything there is here,
Yeah.
or this feels so deep. I want to come back. And so those sit in my mind. Or books frequently, I'm like, oh, I read this in school and I want to read this
Yeah.
as a normal person. I reread a lot for work because for work, I do what I call my demented speed reading. If I'm not the reviewer for a book, we have to read into books in so many different
Hmm.
types of ways, to preview, to fact check. We do so many different types of reading at
Yeah.
such a fast clip
Yeah.
that I'm like, wait, I know the bones of this, but I want to go back and reread it like a normal person so I
Right.
can feel it. So I reread for that. And sometimes you just reread for comfort. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm having a bad day and I want to reread, taking it out of Pinboard, looping back Franny and Zooey. I want
Uh,
to reread someone else going through some type of crisis and hear someone write beautifully about that.
mhm.
And Salinger is actually one of the people that I'm glad I reread
Right.
because when I first read Salinger,
Yeah.
I hated him. I hated him. I
Right.
found like Catcher in the Rye so annoying. Partially because I read that as an adult. I wasn't a high schooler anymore. And I was like, who is this kid calling everyone a phony? Like, please stop. Like, what? I found him so annoying. And I found Franny and Zoe pedantic.
Hmm.
Um, one of my favorite things about that book is that Joan Didion reviewed it and called it, quote, self-help copy for Sarah Lawrence girls, which is devastating.
And you know, somebody publishing a book right now would take that exact blurb and use it as praise. You
Yeah.
know? Right. If
Well, that's
right.
partially why I go back and reread it so much because I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, it does feel like self-help copy from like one of the smartest, like most stylish writers around. And so I go back for that because like there are certain lines that stand out to me, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna reread this. So I reread for a bunch of different
Right.
reasons, but I think I have one other Joan Didion quote.
Hmm. Hmm.
Which is talk again, personal canons, but she has this essay on keeping a notebook.
Yeah.
And in the essay, she says, I'm going to get this mangled a little bit, but basically, I think we're well advised to stay on nodding terms with the people we once were. And I feel like rereading does that. I get to go
Hmm.
back and like look at my marginalia and see what I was thinking and all of that fun stuff, and then add to it. I love rereading.
I reread Tropic of Cancer, and 18-year-old me was not as smart as she thought she was. Like that just, woof, that did not age well. There are other things though that I've gone back to, like the
Like
short
what?
stories of Cheever still work. Raymond Carver's short stories, like there's certain things that still, or Jamaica Kincaid. But then there are other things where I'm like, yeah, okay, okay,
Joumana, are you a rereader?
I am. I mean, it's not as frequent as you. I will like more often than not when I do rereads, they're real like reading jags of one author. So like
oh, I
maybe I read
get that.
one book and now I decide like I'm going to take this summer and read every single thing that somebody's published.
I was gonna say
Hmm.
this is a big summer project of
This
yours.
is a big summer project of mine. Now, of course, there are some summers where I'm like, okay, I'm going to read the entire works of Dana Spiotta, who had like five published books
Right.
at the time, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, okay, what next? You know? But it's actually really, really nice to spend that much time. If you find a writer that interests you, or that you respond to, it's really cool to see how their voice kind of changes and evolves and morphs throughout time across work or even
Hmm.
across genre in some
Hmm.
cases. I'm trying to remember. I actually would like to reread on the subject of
Hmm.
Orwell, and just general, like, very obvious satire.
Hmm.
when I was in middle school, I read Animal Farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my dad read it. My dad was not a native English speaker and also had terrible dyslexia. But I was like, "Oh, you'll get this. Like, it's animals. Like, what you've been to farms." And he took it on a plane and then he called me when he landed. He's like, "What is this?" He's like, "What are they teaching you in that school?" So now I'm just sort of like, "Oh, I should go back and see what was up
Mm-hmm.
with Animal Farm just like with an adult fully developed brain.
Yeah, no, I get that. Have you picked what your summer project is going to be? Like, how far in advance do you pick like your big summer read project?
Me?
Yeah.
The day before? The
Okay.
day
I'm
of?
in.
I mean, yeah, a lot of it, I don't even know that I had oh, well, my summer reading project last year or in 2025
Hmm. Oh, it was Middlemarch. Yeah, yeah.
was Middlemarch, so we'll see. That felt like I don't know if I need to read more George Eliot for a while.
So I have a copy of Mill on the Floss because Michael Cunningham was like, "Oh, you should try Mill on the Floss," and I was like, "Okay."
And
It's
then
still sitting
yeah,
on the bookcase, but I mean, I have it.
yeah, I'm sure I will at some point. I'm not in a big rush to get to more George
Hmm.
Eliot. I think, expand my horizons a bit. MJ, do you have summer reading like projects that you set for yourself? I can't remember. I know we've talked about this a million times.
I don't know if I have like a summer project where I think this summer I'm going to tackle like
Hmm.
nothing as organized as you. I usually take the summer and try to make it just general catch-up time, either classics or new books, but I'm like, it's the summer, it's leisure time. We're going to be at the beach. I'm going to read
Yeah.
what I want because it's my time. You asked a little while ago about like revisiting things from the canon and or dipping into the canon.
Hmm.
I had this deranged summer where I read Crime and Punishment on the beach because I was like,
That makes perfect sense to me. I'm sorry, that does not sound deranged at all. I'm just like, I've taken Per Pedersen's Out Stealing Horses to the beach. So, I mean, you read what you're going to read at the beach.
the copy that I had is like red and black and so brooding, and I'm sitting
Mm.
on a beach towel and it's bright and sunny, and people were walking by, and there's this like leering like Russian man staring out. But I was like, when else am I gonna read this?
Right.
Realistically, I am not reading this during the work week at all, but
Hmm.
I have a week now. On a brighter note, I read 100 Years of Solitude for the first time on a
Yeah.
beach,
Oh,
and that I had tried to read before, and it just felt confusing, and I got lost in all the names and all of that stuff. And then I had this like week at the beach with some friends, and that was my reading project.
Hmm.
And for me, that was a pivotal reading experience because there was one day we were all reading at the beach. We came back for lunch, and we were gonna go out again. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna stay. I'm so close to the ending. I'm gonna
Hmm.
stay and
Hmm.
finish it, and I'll check back in with you when I'm done or when you get back. And so then I sit at the house by myself. It's empty, and I just read that like
Yeah.
hurricane of an ending, and it's so good. And I felt so excited for my friends to come back so I could tell them like, you will not believe what I just read. You will not believe. And then I was that annoying person who then started reading from them from the end of the book when they're like, okay, let's get the drinks gone. What's going on with dinner? But like, so the answer to your question, I don't have any organized summer reading. I just try to
Right.
do a lot of catch up personal reading. What about you, Miwa?
So it depends on my taping schedule. Like I will be straight up. A lot of my reading life gets circumscribed these days, but I do like I'll chase a rabbit hole. Right. I
Mm,
was working on an interview last fall, and John Singer Sargent kept popping up, and some
no.
studies that he did. And, maybe I bopped out and picked up a paperback of a biography of John Singer Sargent so I could read a third of it. I like a rabbit hole. I really, really like a rabbit hole. There are times where, too, like I picked up Rachel Ingalls' Mrs. Caliban because a writer offhandedly made a comment as we were talking. I was like, oh, yeah, I should read that, right? Like, or going back and I mean, a reread that I absolutely loved was Philadelphia Fire by John Edgar Wideman, which is about the move bombing, but it's also The Tempest
Hmm.
and Caliban, and here's there are just references that keep popping, and I'm like, oh, right, I should, yeah, okay.
I've never read John Edgar Wideman, and I really need to get on that. Like,
Same.
I Philadelphia Fire is the one that I would say, like, because he's doing stuff with time, he's doing stuff with, well, language in general, but also he's writing about a really weird moment in the world, but also there's a little bit of genre busting that happens. And if I think about it and go back to it, here's teenage me going, huh? And then adult me is like, oh yeah, this is way better than like. I remembered it being great, and I remember rereading it sort of in my 20s, and now I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, this is exactly what I need in this moment. And I do like, as much as we've been going on about big books, and also, listen, the loneliness of Sonia and Sonny, that Kieran Desai, like, are you kidding me? That's like the bee sting for me. It just flew, and I'm like,
incredible.
I love her, and I love the earlier books too, but like that book was worth 20, that was worth the wait, totally worth the wait. And the chapters are short and everything's going on. But then you get something like The Most, right, by Jessica Anthony. It's an
Mm-hmm.
entire mid-century world, right? Like this is all of what Updike and Cheever were doing in like 160 pages, and it's a woman gets into her swimming pool and won't get out. And I mean, ultimately you find out why. But I'm like, what am I? This is wild.
Huh.
I
This is completely wild.
loved that book, and I don't think it was on my radar until
Mhm.
last year, or I guess 2024's
Mhm, mhm.
National Book Award. And that there are some books, you're talking about good writing.
Yep.
That book is crispy. It is
Yeah,
so
it is. Yeah, it is.
like those sentences are compact and meticulous and like so loaded with so much.
Hmm.
And it's just a pleasure to read. And
Right.
sometimes you read something and you're like, oh, I'm in good hands. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I felt reading that. Similarly to Lonely Crowds by
Hmm.
Stephanie Mbugu
Oh, yeah.
last year.
Great.
Like that book is crispy. Not crisp, but crispy. It's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah. I understand the distinction. I felt that Great Black Hope, the Rob Franklin from last year as well. Did it make me go reread Bright Lights Big City? Oh, yes, it did. And does Bright Lights Big City hold up? Yes. If you have never read that, but you need. And again, it's a voice thing. It's that second person. Hamid does it in How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia as well. It's like there's something about that voice where you're like, yeah, I'm here. I'm here. And Great Black Hope, yeah, it is absolutely told in the it's not second person, but same thing though. It's like here's this kid moving through New York, and stuff happens, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just give me a voice, right? Give me a voice that I can get attached to, and maybe it's not the nicest voice, but I just want you to tell me a story, right? Like I just really, really want to hear a story. What's the first thing you guys read for? Like, is it voice? Is it language? Is
Mm.
it story? Is it context? I mean, everyone reads for different reasons, but
It's definitely not plot.
hmm
Same. And
yeah, I'm not.
part of me like wants to be more of a plot reader, but it's not the thing that, and for a while I was like, the plot's the least important thing, but like how a book, where it takes you and how it, like, the story it tells is becoming increasingly important to me just
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
I don't want all my reading to feel like studying. I do want to like have books that are fun and they're like, oh my gosh, and then this happened. But for me, it's not plot either. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Joumana.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I'm thinking, I mean, in a way, what will make me sit up and take notice is when I sense um a healthy dose of confidence that the writer has. Like if
Yeah,
I trust that I'm in good
absolutely.
hands by like the first chapter or then I can really settle in and
Hmm.
as Mary Oliver would say, let the soft animal of my body enjoy the book, like which is not always a given. So I hope that we all have soft animals of our body moments when in our reading life this year. We'll just say that much. I don't know. How about you?
I think for me, I think it's character, which is
Okay.
adjacent to voice, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sometimes you read a book and it's like not necessarily a notable voice as we
Mhm.
say it,
Yeah.
but like there's just like an interesting person whose mind is interesting to
Right.
be in. So I think for me, that's kind of what I read for. I read for like prose. I love a good sentence.
Hmm. Hmm.
and I love a sentence that kind of surprises you. Rob Franklin has that in
A
Great
lot.
Black Hope. It's just like interesting to watch him describe things. Um, so I read for that. Those are the first two things that come to mind. What about
Yeah,
you,
it's
Miwa?
always language for me. It
Hmm.
starts with, and so, I use voice and language sort of interchangeably, which isn't necessarily the most accurate way to describe it. But the first thing I think of for me as a reader is voice. Is the voice sticky or not? And again, like if I think of something like The Committed, right? Viet Thanh Nguyen's second novel, that's the novel that followed The Sympathizer, and love The Sympathizer too, but I really love The Committed because it's this gritty crime novel in Paris. Right. And I'm just like, okay, I'm in. Like, this is wild. I'm totally in. Um, I just need, yeah, I really, voice is the thing that I will follow you anywhere if the voice is compelling enough. That said, I don't do a lot of true crime. Like, I do like to read nonfiction, but it's like very voicey, memoiry, kind of accessible history, sort of figuring out what the rest of 2026 is going to look like. And I'm going, oh, okay, I have many, many choices. But yeah, like good nonfiction, same thing. It's like voice, right? Like just, I don't know. I hope
There's
the
a
horse,
new Patrick Radden Keefe coming out this year, for which I am very excited.
it is
So
bananas.
excited.
Bananas great. It is
Ah,
bananas great.
so good. So good.
Bananas great. That's the thing too. It's like even when there's a new project, there's always, there's so much to choose from. And that's part of the fun. Like I get a lot of stuff without any copy on it at all. Like literally, I will get a title and an author and a pub date, and I'm fine with that. I read blind
That's
all the
actually
time.
ideal.
Yeah, I read
Yeah.
blind all the time. And I'm good with it. I just need words on the page, right? But then there are other times where I'm like wandering around and I'm just like, what is this? What is this jacket? Do I know this? And yeah, there are times where you pick up a thing that you already have on the shelf.
I've done that so many times. I don't want to tell you how many duplicates are on my shelves. It's just embarrassing. But
What?
I would love for
Mhm.
us to take the wind out of the sails of blurbs. Because I can tell you
Yeah,
there's a lot, all is not well in the Kingdom of
yeah.
Denmark. It's like the blurbs are out of control.
The blurbs are out of control. There was that essay last year. I don't remember who published it, but they were like, blurbs suck. As a reader, I
Mm.
hate them because I feel like I'm being lied to. It
Mhm.
happens a lot where you read a blurb. Every blurb says this book is essential.
Right.
That's the key word, the word essential.
Yep.
Every book is a tour de force. Every book is a window into now.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, sure, but no, no, no. And like
Yeah.
I feel very like lied to frequently. The thing that I do find is helpful for blurbs
Hmm.
is it's helpful for me going in to know what other authors this the publisher wants you to have in their mind for a
Yeah.
given book. So I look at more than anything, I look at the names of I look at the names in the blurbs. I
Hmm.
don't necessarily take a lot of stock in what
Yeah.
is in the blurb themselves.
I don't think I use blurbs the way everyone else in the world uses them, so I'm not sure
How do
how much.
you use them?
Um, it's a lot of inside baseball. It's a lot of like, it doesn't hurt and it doesn't help. I just kind of ignore them, to be honest. Which I know sounds a little trippy. I'm more concerned, for me, comps. But like, I don't always agree with the comps that I'm handed. I'm like, I'm
That's
sorry,
because you're
what?
a bookseller,
Yeah,
after
I just operate in a different kind of orbit. And also there are people where I'm like, you did not read this book. I know you didn't. I know you didn't, and therefore I can just discount this thing. Also, having been a baby publicist at one point too, I was responsible for picking the pull quotes. And you can make magic when you need to.
a lot of ellipses.
Oh my,
A lot
M
of,
dashes and ellipses are a beautiful thing.
I
Parentheticals, you can, I think the truest relationship, honestly, when it comes to a book and a reader is literally that relationship, right? Like, however you get there is how you get there. I mean, do I love to have things recommended to me? Sure. Do I still come to I literally, the Middlemarch thing, years and years and years of people I really respect saying, no, really, you should read this. I'm like, oh, why? And of course, now my copy is kind of falling apart because I really got in there. I write in books. I dog ear. There are people who are just like, why would you dog ear a book? And I'm like, because it's a living thing. And the way I interact with it isn't just I'm going to read it and be done with it. It's kind of like, well, how does this? I scribble. I scribble. I love a sharp pencil. Oh man, do I love a sharp pencil on a piece of paper. I'm happy.
Felt that down my spine.
Yeah, see? I mean, it's
I worked on a story a long time ago, before I started at the Times actually,
yeah.
about the Marginalia project, which was one of the designers of the original Kindle inherited his father or grandfather's library and discovered that there were all of these great like margin notes in Marginalia, and he started this project about to preserve them.
Yeah.
And I got to interview him, and it was this great conversation about from someone who literally helped design e-reading, talking about the magic of Marginalia. There's something so special about it. Just like, yeah, it's if don't write it in a borrowed book, don't write in a library book, but otherwise it's your book.
Yeah.
You have your own relationship with it. Think with the book, write alongside the book, talk to the book. That's interesting. That's helpful.
And it goes back to that sense of community. It goes back to that sense of intimacy, right? Like you are in conversation and every one of it, like even the three of us could read the same thing and still have a different experience. I mean, yeah, maybe we all like, groove on the language, whatever. But at the same time, like we are going to ultimately have a different experience coming to the book because of our backgrounds and because of who we are as readers and who we are as humans and all of this kind of stuff. And I love the idea that everyone can have an experience with a book, right? Like it doesn't need to be prescribed. It doesn't need to be, there aren't necessarily guardrails that go with it. It's like love the thing or don't love the thing, right? Like I was rereading The Things They Carried, the Tim O'Brien story collection recently, and I have not looked at that book since I was a teenager, and I was like, oh, I see how this feeds a bunch of stuff. And also the new package is great. Yay, because I had a very unattractive package for a long time. And part of watching like the evolution of book design or blurbs or like even how we talk about books or where we talk about books, all of these things, I'm kind of like, there's so much life here. Like you may not always agree with it, but there's a lot of life here. There's a lot happening. And it goes back to that original point about canon, right? Like I just want it to evolve. I don't static stuff is not interesting to me. That's really, I want it to be able to change and not even, not every book is for every person. It's just never going to be, right? So the idea that we can say, hey, come hang out, there's something here for you. Like, I hope you find it. Right. Like I've actually had people say to me, well, I don't like to read. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say to you because you're missing out. But also they haven't found the book, right, that's going to like blow their mind.
Or maybe they need like maybe audiobook is their
audio. Also, that is reading. Can we just totally like that is reading? Audiobooks are reading.
Yes, that totally counts. That totally counts. Like, yeah, I'm not sure that I believe that there are people who are not readers. I think they just haven't had the right experience yet. That's my rare bit of optimism. On a hot moment.
You are way more optimistic than you make it out to be, please. You can't, here's the thing, you kind of can't work in books if you're not optimistic, right? Like you have to be, I don't know. I think there's an underlying optimism to anyone who's in the book business because there are easier ways to go through life.
And
that's real.
If you are not a reader, then you should become a reader because it gives you some optimism, which is like,
I mean, listen, I've read some, not easy stuff, and it's always been worth it, right? Even if it's to say, this is not for me, I'm just going to put it down and I'm going to find the next thing. Or coming back to it later and being like, oh, yeah. Like, honestly, the Jean Rhys stuff, I was like, oh. Or even Salinger. Like, I'm not going back to Catcher in the Rye, but like part of Franny and Zooey for me, which was making me laugh, I was like, oh yeah, I grew up with these people. And not in New York, but like I remember like older brothers and sisters of friends of mine talking like that. And I'm like, oh, right.
And then go read Playworld by Adam Ross.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Can I tell you a conspiracy theory that I think, I correct me on this, but I think was floated by John Updike, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to Google right after this, but I believe John Updike reviewed Franny and Zooey for the Times and floated an idea that actually there are two different Frannys in that book. That the Franny of Franny is different than the Franny in the Zooey section because they're as characters they behave so totally different. It's definitely mentioned in our review.
Right.
I'm gonna look this up, but it just talk about canons and people we've referenced, and now I'm just trying to connect some dots.
Well, and I actually don't disagree with that because it is a pretty significant shift. I also kept assuming that Franny was pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there was just some stuff, and I'm like, I don't know.
Good Rorschach test.
I mean, also the new package is amazing. The new jacket is just, I mean, sometimes you need a type only treatment. And I
haven't seen it, but now I want to look it up.
Oh, wait, hold on.
You have it?
I do. Because there are times where I go looking for a thing and I don't have, but like that's really beautiful.
Yeah,
I just have to say that's really, and actually Quartet has a new jacket.
Oh.
Wait. Good Morning Midnight has a new jacket.
Hey.
I just, I like to hold a book. Yeah. I will read, I mean, listen, I will read however I need to get a thing done. And there are times where I'm just like, just send me a file and I will read the thing. But I get a lot of pleasure out of having a beautiful thing that represents, I mean, there are times where I'm like, why did you change that jacket from the hardcover? And then there are other times where I'm like, yep, thank you. Great. Appreciate it. That's terrific. Which again, not everyone thinks about books necessarily the way I do, but I think it's a pretty cool way to spend a day.
There are far worse ways to be one brain cell. I've got one.
While we're talking about book packages, can I just do a shout out? Shout out to whoever designed the new edition of Cloud Atlas that came out, last year, 2 years ago? It's like just like that bright blue cloudy sky that looks gorgeous. Yep. It's stunning.
Yep.
I love it. That's one of my favorite books. Talk about world building. We get 6 different worlds, all of that good stuff, and it's so beautiful. And Robert Frobisher is one of my favorite characters of all time. Yep. I have so many copies. I have the original copy. I have the movie tie-in copy, and then I saw shining on the shelf this great anniversary edition, and it's gorgeous.
No, it is. I mean, again, like an objet is a beautiful thing, right? But it's funny that you bring up Cloud Atlas because the first time I started reading that, and again, I probably had a galley. This is sort of pre-ebooks kind of moment. And I thought, oh my, this is great. This is Andrea Barrett in Voyage of the Narwhal, which is a novel I really, really love. And then all of a sudden, there's the needle rip, and you're just like, where am I? And David Mitchell, the original kind of like, I'm going to blow up all of the genre conventions ever, right? And by the end of it, I was like, I don't think I've ever read anything like that before. And then it kind of, that guy can write. That guy can totally write.
I'm thinking about book covers that have broken my heart. The new Ferrante cover.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's one where like typefaces should not have been used as the only element. Perhaps the view of Mount Etna. Perhaps. I mean, but see, this is why I'm not a graphic designer.
This is why you stick to words.
I know, and even then, and when I don't like words on a book cover, then it's bad.
I
love you, Europa, and I love Ferrante very much.
Days of Abandonment, though, absolutely my favorite. Like, I just it is wild and dark, and that book makes me happy. I know that's a really weird way to describe Days of Abandonment, but that book makes me really happy.
Days of Abandonment, I was reminded of Days of Abandonment reading The White Hot.
Completely. Absolutely. That is without a doubt a big part of what I was thinking. That and August Wilson too, the Century Cycle, which I haven't read all of the plays together in a really long time, but like that's another playwright where I'm like, I'm kind of bummed I never got a novel from him, but he is August Wilson and didn't have time, and so be it. But I can at least read a play.
I just want to say, I found it in the archives. It is John Updike writing in the New York Times, who says, quote, the Franny and the Franny of Zooey are not the same person. The heroine of Franny is and then goes on and on and on. So in addition to the canon, let's give a shout out to the archives. I don't know what this podcast has turned me into, defending like a Salinger boy on Maine, talking about the canon. I don't know what's happened, but
it took us places we didn't expect.
I was about to say, but also it just shows you how far-ranging you can go, right? Like, no one has to just have one piece of the conversation, right? Like, the conversation's endless, it's mutable, it's changeable, it's all sorts. Like, we just get to do a thing, right? And it's pretty cool. All right, so on that note, we say thank you, Happy New Year. We're glad everyone's here, and we hope you find the book you're looking for this year.
Thank you
for having us. This was so much fun.
Thank you for listening. Poured Over is a Barnes & Noble production. To help other readers find us, please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.